Welcome, my name is Kavita Trivedi and this is my Eagle Project. Throughout this series of videos, you will learn about the Camping Leave No Trace principles and how they apply to life in the city. You will learn about how to respect wildlife, dispose of your waste properly, plan ahead and prepare, leave what you find, and how to be considerate of others. You will learn these skills by watching a brief video and then doing an associated activity. I hope you enjoy. Leave no trace principle. Respect wildlife.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scoutmaster David English, and today I am coming from the Charles River, and I am here for Kavita's Eagle Project, and I chose to do my Leave No Trace film on the Charles River. So let me take you back a little bit of history. When my parents grew up, they actually used to swim in this water right here till they were in their early adulthood. And then the water became so polluted in 1960 that they would not let anybody swim in the river. If you were to happen to fall into the river by accident or on purpose, the first place you went was to Mass General to get yourself a tetanus shot. Whether you had one the day before or not, you were on your way to Mass General to get a tetanus shot. And so what had happened was all these businesses and all of the facilities that went up and down this river all used to dump all of their waste and everything else straight into the river because they thought that was the best way to get rid of their waste. And it was just poor planning on their part, and they didn't really think of what it was doing to the environment. And as you can see, it hurts a lot of things. It hurts not only the wildlife you can see on top, but the wildlife that's inside of the river. Now, this water was so bad when I grew up in the 60s and 70s and into the early 80s that you could not even see the bottom of the river, no matter how close you were to it. And as you can see now, as I point the camera down, you can see the rocks in the bottom. You can see where they're standing there. And you can see that the wildlife is thriving. And all this came through them cleaning the Charles River. They spent millions and millions of dollars on cleaning this river. They've built a beautiful deck up here so people can admire it. And so the wildlife now is thriving up here, and it's by no accident. The city of Cambridge has spent millions of dollars on replumbing, redoing all their surfaces and everything to make sure that the water goes where it's supposed to. Now, I'm going to talk to you briefly about a few things you should never put into the river. This obviously is antifreeze, this is brake fluid, and this is oil. 1 gallon of each one of these can ruin millions of gallons of water. Millions of gallons. And what people would do in the old days is they'd dump this down the drains in their city or on their street or whatever, and eventually it would get back to the river and end up killing the ecosystem like you wouldn't believe. So part of what the city of Cambridge did in the early 70s was they would come around and they would give everybody in the neighborhood these blue dye packs or yellow or whatever the color was that they were using. They'd give them these dye packs to put in their toilets, and they would flush them, and then they would follow to see where all of the where the dye was going. And 90% of the dye would end up in the Charles River. So then they figured out, okay, this can't be a good thing. Let's change this and see if we can figure out a better way to to reroute all the things. So now they spent millions of dollars putting on all new sewer systems, everything, and all of that now heads to the NWRA sewer treatment plant, which is over in, they call it Deer Island, which is kind of a crazy name for something that's so industrial. But anyways, they call it Deer Island, and they send it over there, and it all gets treated, cleaned, put back into the environment in a safer way. That makes more sense, and it doesn't end up hurting the environment and all of the nature's things that go with it. This deck here, I remember when I was a child watching some poor guy fall in off his little rowboat. He didn't hurt himself, but the second he got out, the police grabbed him and took him straight to the hospital because they were in fear of his life. And as you can see now, this water is almost crystal clear. You can see straight through it. It's amazing what it's done. And so part of what keeps this area so clean is the NWRA put up a huge treatment facility over here. You've probably walked by it a million times and never noticed it. It's on the left-hand side of the BU Bridge if you're heading back into Cambridge. And it's a huge facility. And what it does is it's a pumping filtration system that cleans all the water and returns it back to the Charles River. So this is the facility here. This is run by the NWRA. And what it does is it takes water in from the river, pumps it through the filtration system. As you can see, there's the NWRA thing there. Let me zoom in a little. That's their logo. So what they do is they take water in from the Charles River, it pumps through there and then pumps it back out into the river, and basically it's a huge filtration system that keeps the river clean. That's been here probably 20 or 30 years now, and it has really made a huge impact on how clean this water has come. And hats off to the guy that thought to create something like that. But as you can see, this was an area here that one of our other Eagle Scouts did a project down the way where she had cleaned out invasive species and everything. And through her hard work, along with Kavita's hard work that's going into the future, is you'll have sites like this that are gorgeous to live in, gorgeous to play in. And as you can see, you've seen all the wildlife that was living and thriving because of hard work from your average people that care about the environment. So what does all this mean? What does all this mean to you, me, and everybody else? Everybody always says, you know, leave no trace. The leave no trace principle strictly means that you want to leave something or somewhere you have been better than you got there. So if there's found, you want to pick it up. If there's other things around that shouldn't be there, chemicals or anything like that, you should call the proper authority to remove them. But basically you want to make sure that you're always doing your part by recycling. The recycling business has become a multi-billion-dollar business where people are recycling everything from refrigerators to garbage disposals to bumpers to metal things. I mean, if you think about it, in the old days, my God, where did all that stuff end up? If they weren't recycling it, it ended up in landfills, which was killing the environment. Now, all of that stuff gets re-put back into use, and it doesn't end up in the middle of nowhere. So, for instance, you see this plastic bottle laying on the ground. Somebody was nice enough to toss that out, along with that one. This will take literally over 100 years to break down if nobody was to move that. It would last through storms, rain, whatever else came down the pike. That bottle would still be sitting there for your grandchildren to come by and trip over it. That's the type of stuff that ruins the environment, and it's simple to fix. You can easily put that in the proper place so it gets recycled and disposed of in the proper way. Some of the other things that you can make sure you're doing in your own home is to make sure that you're not pouring grease down the drain. You're not throwing light bulbs away without disposing of them properly. And now the biggest thing that we've got coming up in the future is going to be all the batteries, because we're going more and more electric, so we need to find better ways to recycle batteries, like the lithium batteries that can last for a long time, but they're also extremely bad on the environment when you go to get rid of them. So read the care package of how to dispose of stuff like that, and to take care of your environment. And the goal is, and you have children or grandchildren, if you're lucky enough, that they'll have a clean, fresh environment, a beautiful baseball field like this to play in, and it won't be littered with cans and trash and everything else that they have to run around while they're trying to have a simple game of baseball. The leave no trace principle in the woods, if we were out hiking or anything, you always want to stay at least 100 feet from a water source. So you can see where that green car is, kind of on the right-hand side in the center of the screen. That's about 100 feet there, just to give you an idea of how far you want to be from the water. So if you're going to do anything that might impact the environment, pouring out a chemical, using the facilities outdoors or whatever, you want to be at least that far from the water, because if it goes into the ground, if you have over 100 feet, it gives the ecosystem enough to filter it, break it down, and disperse it so it doesn't end up becoming a threat to the environment. So the environment works like this big plant, but it just takes a little bit longer of a way. So keep that in mind while you're working on your leave no trace principles. Have a good day. Bye.
On the next 3 image slides, you will see many different items that don't belong where they are. Can you find them? Next time you are outside, take note of the trash that you see that is not in its correct spot. Think about what you could do differently to help reduce the amount of trash in places that it's not supposed to be. Thank you, Dr. Michelle Holmes, for being an amazing Eagle Project advisor. And thank you to my friends and family for supporting me on my Eagle Project. And thank you, Sarah Nicholas, for playing the music for the intro. Thank you, Troop 56 from Cambridge, Massachusetts, for supporting me on my road to Eagle.